There you go, live.
Great. Hi, I'm Tracy Felix from ARTspot, and since we can't do our third Thursday Edmonds Art Walk currently, we have invented Art Watch. So you obviously have discovered us, so welcome to our hour and a half with Whitney Buckingham-Beechie. We are at Whitney's studio here in Edmonds, Washington. It's not too far from ARTspot. Whitney and I go way back because we raised our kids together, but besides being moms together, we're artists together. And I just thought it was such a special treat to come and visit Whitney's studio and see how she does indigo, Encaustics, and if we're lucky and we have enough time, we might even be able to put a little kiss of resin on the end. So I'm going to let Whitney take it over because she has so much to show you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Great. Glad you're here, at least as here as we can have right now. It's not forever, it's just for now. But we're finding ways to get together. One of the cool things that's happening at ARTspot is Tracy got a hold of these wonderful cotton masks and of course brought them to me to spice them up a little bit. So very quickly, I'll try not to go too fast, but you know, I do a lot with indigo dye, obviously on the boards, on canvases. I also do it with fabrics and a variety of things. If you're working with indigo dye, which a lot of people do shibori, well, okay, not many people do shibori, but shibori is very cool. It's an ancient Japanese folding technique done with the indigo dye. But if you're working with indigo dye, use 100% cotton or 100% silk. You want something, you're going to be really disappointed with the results if you use like 50-50 because the fabrics will not absorb the dye and maintain it as well as you'd like. So, and again, all the folding and things like that changes how it's going to come out. So I'm just going to do a little bit of quick folding. And I have these here to show you, you know, a lot of times you take fabrics and you sandwich them in between the boards, and whatever the board covers stays fairly protected and it seeps in a little along the edges. That works really well on bigger pieces of fabric. Since these are kind of small, it really won't do a lot. Takes you back to the days of tie-dye, if any of you did that, which, oh my gosh. It was 25 years ago. I had my own tie-dye business.
No kidding.
Yeah. It started because I wanted something cool to do with my kids. Because if you tie them correctly, the kids can squirt the dye and it's still going to look really cool. And it can be very inexact and come out amazing. And so they made amazing shirts, and people would stop them on the streets and they'd say, oh, this is really cool, where can we buy it? And eventually I acquiesced and started making them. And
I've been looking at macrame, and I was looking at a macrame book where it showed them dipping the macrame into a vat of indigo, and it was kind of doing an ombre thing, so it would be dark, and then as it soaked up into the length of it, it would get lighter and lighter. So I think we need to try that, Whitney.
You know,
because when you talk about the 70s and doing tie-dye, you got to throw in some macrame. That was part of it.
Absolutely. I did a macrame belt, and it took me about 1,000 years. It was like crazy.
Do you still have it?
I think somewhere in a box, which tells you I hold on to way too much stuff. And another tip is to make sure you want things tight, because all of these rubber bands are going to create a resist, but then also see how it makes these little tight folds. Where they're loose, the dye is going to go in, but where it's really tight underneath that, it will hold it out. So in this one, what we did is put some stones, just picked up little rocks and washed them in the yard and then put them in to get kind of a fun thing. Then what you do with this, oh, here. Let's do it this way. I'm like, well, how are we going to do this? because I'm trying to do the magic where it happens really fast, because nothing happens fast
Like a
in
cooking
real life.
show.
So what I'm going to do is show you. So you start and you've tied these up, right? Well, then I'm going to drop them in the dye, but first I'm going to pull out the ones that have been sitting in the dye all day. You want it in the dye at least an hour. And I want you to notice the interesting green color. It's really kind of light. The dye has not oxidized yet. So you don't want to go and rinse it off right away. You want it to cure a little bit. So I'm going to drop that in here. But I like it to have a nice long soak in there. But you notice how it's turning. And also definitely use gloves. Longer gloves are not a bad idea. You can see I'm already getting on my arms. Even when I use longer gloves, I usually work bigger with big boards and canvases, and no matter how high up the gloves go, sooner or later I go whoop a little too far, and I have had blue hands and blue feet because it's spilled. And
Have you ever thrown in blue jeans to make them bluer into indigo?
no, that would be really good. The jeans I come out here and there's paint and stuff. Basically, if you want to see me dressed in nice clothes, I have beautiful clothes. Come to a gallery opening. That's all I can say. You will never see me looking in anything but rags when I am in my studio, because when you go in between resin, which just ruins things if it gets on you, and dyes and paint and whatnot, it's just a matter of, does it go in the trash or the laundry? And so, and if you want my studio, it looks beautiful when it's super clean. By the way, this is cleaned up, just so you know. This is the cleaned up version. I am a messy artist. I love to work very freely and rambunctiously.
We have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Victoria Foster says, I came in a bit late. Are you doing indigo masks?
I am. Hi, Victoria. I am absolutely doing indigo mask. Victoria Foster is
Victoria Foster Harrison.
Awesome. Yes. Victoria
And,
Foster Harrison, she is an amazing artist in her own right.
And Joanne Frederick said, what is the indigo mixture?
The indigo, I highly recommend, actually.
Do you have one of the boxes?
I don't have it handy. It's already in the recycle bin, but I will show you. The indigo starts as a plant. Here is a really cool groovy chunk of it I brought back from Africa. You can see where it's been processed. This is my absolute be-all, end-all go-to is jacquard. And go to ARTspot and get it from Tracy. It comes in a box. It has instructions. Really easy to use, super user-friendly. It has soda ash, and then it has another chemical, and then it has the blue indigo. Pour them close to the water so it doesn't billow up. Don't breathe it in, okay? That's my recommendation.
Another good reason to have a mask.
Yes, and not only that, you can't tell because it's on screen, but there are no fumes from this. Like if you really put your face in there, you could smell a little bit of the indigo smell, which would actually be very similar to a pair of new blue jeans. So there's no fumes, there's no smell, there's no problem. But I put those in there to show you, and these then are taken out. The next step, after you tie them, you put them in, let them soak for at least an hour. Then you put them over there, and usually what I do is I wrap them up in a plastic bag and I let them go overnight. Because I really want them to oxidize. I really want that dye to just sink in there. You don't have to go that long, but then you've gone long enough. Now this is all soaking in a bath of vinegar. I mean, I buy it by the gallon and just dump it on. So then...
White vinegar or?
Yeah, just clear white vinegar. It's very inexpensive and it does a good job of setting the dye. Then the next step is I rinse it and rinse it and rinse it, which is what this stack is rinsed. I opened one up so far, and I thought what I'd do is open a few so you can see.
And indigo is an all-natural product, so when you
Yes.
make indigo dye, it's a live enzyme, is that correct?
It is. It has something called the bloom, and it's actually alive. And if I bring you back, we're gonna come back to that in a second. But see this part right here, that is the bloom. And when you work with indigo, 100% of the time, you are meant to work very gently. And that prolongs the life of the dye.
Oops. Sorry, camera went.
Getting a little disco on
There you go. So you want, you know, I would say generally, but always people have wanted very much to be very, very gentle with the dye so that the dye lasts longer. It exhausts the dye when you are rough with it at all, and I am.
You go through a lot of indigo.
I go through a lot of indigo, a lot. This is a tiny batch. This is one batch, but I usually work with like 5 batches at a time. That's 4 gallons, so about 20 gallons or more at a time when I work big. And if you look at this, this is a commission that's in process where all I've done is get the indigo on the board. But you see what happens when the resin gets on it, and it just pops. But all of this stuff is the live bits, which comes from being a very active dance with the dye. And so when I have people work with me, I tell them never, ever, ever treat anyone else's dye the way I treat mine because you will lose friends. So, but you get spectacular results. So, yeah. So,
We should have the Jacquard kit on our online shop. If not, I guess you could
We
ask.
have it at the
Yeah,
store.
we have it at the store.
Definitely, trust me, they have lots at the store, and I know from experience, they can special order it in for you. Trust me, and of course, when I say, hey, I need 10 boxes or something, it's a special order, but.
Victoria also asks, do you dip the panel in the indigo or pour the indigo on the board? Or something else?
Name it, I've done it. This was one that I'm going to do a little encaustic on top of. This one has been dipped in, and the top part, I put contact paper resist on it, just to try it. And then I dipped it very quickly, which is why it's reasonably light up there, but then I dipped longer on the bottom, but also pulled that. So you see all that stuff on it, all that good, yummy stuff.
The gunk?
Yeah, the gunk, the beautiful, beautiful gunk. That is the bloom. And that is going to make it so intriguing. I will resin that, but, you know, and sometimes I put resin on, and then I work the top either with encaustic, which is working with pigmented wax, or with acrylics, or a combination thereof. I sometimes put the resin over all of it. There is wax. This is done with acrylic, and up there is acrylic. This is actually encaustic wax through there, and so it adds a lot of depth. And you get more depth with the wax than the acrylic, even. And so I kind of like that, and that's why I resined over all of that. It just depends. I don't have a certain way of doing things every time because I would get really bored. I try this and that, and the 2 words constantly bouncing in my head are what if. And that's why usually when I'm working, I'm not very talkative, which is probably the only time in my life I'm not talkative. But I'm thinking, you know, what about this? What if and if I pull that color in, and then, okay, what if I do this, and then, okay, so maybe I'll bring that back, and it's just so all the squirrels are running around in my head.
Another question, does the bloom flake off at all? Or does it stay put?
Yeah, if I went like that, I would rub it right off. But you notice that there's a lot of bloom still on that, and it's going to stay there because the resin is going to hold it in place.
So once you resin it, it's...
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't have to resin. This has been treated on the bottom with a matte lacquer. So
if you don't resin it, you have to fix it in place with
Seal it.
something. Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you brush up against it, some of it's going to rub off on you, and it is good just to use some sort of fixative. And again, I get that from art. I get most of my art supplies directly from Tracy at ARTspot. I have been so unbelievably happy with that, and I also feel really good about my choices to support a local business. And she has bent over backwards to, you know, if I ask for the sun and the moon, she gives me the sun and the moon and the stars. So, you know.
And that to me looks like you're testing out some technique, or
That one I decided I didn't want to do a big blanket, so I ran strips of the resin down, and I just need to finish the top, and it's just kind of hanging out.
Cool.
This one is normally, I do the resin because it just makes it pop and get so yummy. This one is, like I said, this is a commission. So this is one of a couple panels that'll go together, the Mount Rainier Range.
I love the wood grain, the pattern of the wood grain on the sky, kind of.
Yeah,
really
well
nice.
that I have to do, that's gonna be encaustic and some different things up there. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I did get that part done in the summer, so.
Very neat.
Yeah, thank you. And here's the fun, it's like Christmas, the big reveal. And what's cool is it's got that green. The green is gonna go away. It's the part of the dye that hasn't oxidized, but you can see where the little rubber bands were. And each one ends up being really unique. And I thought I'd open a few of them. See, that's how it'll end up looking, that type of a variation, because it's going to continue to oxidize now that the air is hitting it. And then I recommend, you know, definitely soaking in the vinegar, full strength vinegar, but then I highly recommend you wash it with jeans or towels or something, you know.
Because some of the blue's going to come out in the
It
wash.
is. It's like having new jeans, and it also depends on how much you rinse it out in your sink. Because I will take these and rinse them really well in the sink before I throw them in the wash. Bring this up here. So, but indigo, gosh, I just fell in love with it probably almost 5 years ago. And I've been working with dye for 25 years. But that live bloom is in the indigo, but it's not in any other dye. It does, you know, it just has its own unique nature. And man, I love it. And it also makes it unpredictable, which is a blessing and a curse. I find it really exciting and really fun and intriguing. And when I'm doing like a triptych, which is 3 paintings together, it is nearly impossible. Because even if I do it 1, 2, 3, they don't look like they know each other at all. And it's like, really? So it can be really challenging to get something that's cohesive. And so if I have a really nice cohesive set, chances are I did like 8 or 9 and picked the 3 that played together nicely. It's just one of the things. Ooh, that's kind of fun.
You can't always control Mother Nature, right?
Exactly, and that's what I like. It keeps me on my toes. It's never pedantic. It's not like, well, I do this and it's going to do this. It's always like, it's a dance. I start going, okay, oh, it's going this way, so I got to go this way and adapt, and I just stay mentally challenged. It's really fun.
Tania Westby said, I stepped away for a minute. I missed the introduction of the resin. What is it? What is it made of? Does it seal, cover, stick to any medium?
Yes.
Those mountains are gorgeous.
Thank you very much. We're going to talk, this is my favorite resin. We're going to talk resin at the end, and I hope that's okay. And I tried a lot. Again, I'm part scientist. If I'm going to work with resin, I want to try every resin I can get my hands on and see which ones I like the best. And this, bar none, is my favorite. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop with, how are we doing on time?
8:15. You're 1/3 of the way through. Perfect.
Good. So I'm going to step away from this. I mean, because I could open all of these and it could be really fun. And maybe I'll send a picture to Tracy and she can post some more later
Yeah.
what they're going to do. But that kind of showed you what it looked like to fold them, dropping them in the dye, taking them out, giving them a little rinse off and squish out. Well, actually, sorry, squish out and then a vinegar bath. Then sitting overnight.
You know what we should do? We've had 2 or 3 people that have already checked in with us. Why don't we make sure we'll make note of their names, and if they want one of these masks, they can come by ARTspot, and we'll set one aside for them if they want one.
Oh, I love that.
That sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm getting warm, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my best to mimic my husband's haircut. Okay, there we go. Awesome. So that was fold, drop in the dye, let it be for about an hour, take it out, squeeze it out, let it sit. Generally, I put them in plastic bags and I double bag them overnight. Then dump them out into a bath of pure vinegar, pure white vinegar. Let it be for like 20, 30 minutes. Then rinse them and squeeze them a little bit. Then unwrap them and then rinse it out really well and wash them. So that's the process there. Now we're going to step into a whole different thing. And we're going to go over to the encaustic. Encaustic, again, is painting with pigmented wax, and this has been around for thousands of years. People think it's this hot new thing. It is definitely hot. It is just not new. But it is wonderful, and I do teach this, but it's hard. I have not taught any of it on Zoom because I work with torches, I work with heat guns. This peels paint off the wall. It gets really hot. Torches are a preferred method, but again, I don't like to teach something if I'm not there to make sure people are safe. I am never reckless. I'm very careful. So anyway, and the reason I left this out without resin, I'm going to do the encaustic on here. I don't think we'll get it to a point in this amount of time to where I'm done, but I'll be able to show you some of the process of working with the encaustic. And then when it's all done and dry in a day or two, I will resin the entire thing. The reality is it'll be next spring probably before I resin it. I, again, am really particular about the results and how things turn out, and especially when I work bigger. There's a lot of things. The bigger you work with resin, the more challenges you have, and I have sanded it down and re-resined and sanded and re-resined like 5 times. And it's really expensive to do that, but to get it precisely the way I want it. It happens sometimes. You just got to be patient and trust the process and know you'll eventually get there. It can be really quick and easy and wonderful and exciting. It can also be a marathon. So just if that happens, don't be discouraged. So anyway, when you're working with resin, I have this at 200 degrees and it was out here for quite a few hours heating up to it. You always want to heat your substrate, and you don't, I work on boards, and I think even the back is pretty on that. And sometimes I do extra detailing on the back so people can turn it around, have a little variety. But I'm going to heat it up. You want your substrate warm. And again, I get my substrates from ARTspot. Oh, and I am going to pull Tracy over in a minute to work with that. But then you take and start heating on, and I'm going to be kind of careful because I don't want the edge to go way over the top. And I see, I never ever let my dog in here, and that's why, but yet there was a little piece of lily fur. So.
Leanne Christensen says, watching your process from Tacoma, love the science and creativity of your art.
Thank you so much. I love sharing it. I'll tell you, one of the hardest things about COVID was shutting down classes. I teach at galleries and I also teach at my studio here, and I really miss it, and I miss the interaction, and I love to encourage people, and I love to get people, I guess, my favorite thing is to get people to just go for it and try things. Get messy, make mistakes, don't worry about it. Not everything I do turns out perfectly, because I'll try stuff. I'm constantly trying things. Sometimes I'm going, wow, that is so cool, I love how that turned out. Other times I'm like, whoa, that is an epic fail, you know? But, yeah, I mean, it's not, sometimes it's not just a fail, it's a, wow, that is so bad. But you know what? You gotta have some of those. It's like skiing. If you're not falling down some of the time, then you're not really pushing yourself and trying things. And then in between the layers, you go back and you heat it up. And actually, love this.
You can see the wax already.
You'll be able to see it, and it'll bubble. And it's not the end of the world if there's some bubbles in your wax piece. However, I will say that can be a little pet peeve of mine. I don't want bubbles in. Oh, okay, I've been too rough with this in the past, so I don't have.
Light.
I might. Are you plugged in? No. Okay, well.
You have to be an electrician to do Encaustics.
Yeah, you pretty much do. Oh, but I have you set up.
There you go.
Haha. So I'm just thinking for. Oh, that was so good. I bet that isn't plugged in then. Yeah, I was thinking I was so ready for anything and everything.
Did you blow a fuse?
No, I gotta.
This isn't plugged in?
Are you just trying to get the light on?
Actually, well, careful the vase.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine.
I thought that was plugged in.
Actually,
Well, I was gonna turn on an extra light, so I don't know how well that's gonna show up. I'll try and make sure.
It
I'm
looks
not in the way.
good. I think you can,
Okay.
Raise Magic,
All right. Because I
filmography.
want you to be able to see what's going on with the wax. And it's not, it's very normal for it to bubble. That's fine, but if you keep going, you can knock those bubbles out and you make it very glassy and liquid. Okay. And so that is one of many, many layers I will put on. I like to work kind of thick with the wax. And I will layer in layers of white. In fact, I think I will do that just to show just to demonstrate a little, because after all, this is a demo. You can leave it where it's still pretty much together. You can also press it where you push it and it fans out and you lose the edges. It really depends on the look you want to go and opacity. If you look at R&F, which is Richard Frumis's, fantastic. R&F. Encaustics is another good one. Tracy carries both of those. Those are my favorite waxes to work with. They will state on them the opacity of it. And, it really depends. Sometimes you want something kind of translucent. Sometimes you want a real opaque look.
Mm-hmm.
Like for this, I will layer it with some white and some different things because I need to cover. I could have sanded the blue off the board, but my plan has been all along to go in and cover it with layers and layers, using some opaque, but also having it blend and blur.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm.
Do you want to ask how many layers approximately?
It really depends on what I'm doing. It really depends. I do dry brushing texture technique, and somebody asked that, and darn them for asking, because I actually started counting, and I quit counting at 50 layers for that technique. I'm not going to do 50 on this. There'll be a lot, because again, like I'm going for a more opaque look. It could easily be 5 layers normally. For this, there'll be at least 10 or 12 layers. But the dry brushing technique definitely takes a lot longer to build up. And so I just put on good music and don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good transition point? Because first of all, the camera's on 20% battery. So could we set up the camera and then could we maybe get this working or
Yeah,
or
do you want more
plugging
light?
in.
Because then we're also gonna go over here. What time
Okay.
is it?
Are we still working over here or are we going to transition over
Do
here?
do you want to go ahead and figure out the lighting and I can show them what I'm going to do with this?
Done.
Okay.
So, taking a little quick break. We'll still be on for everyone who's watching live. Thank you.
Actually, I can take her to light just like this.
And
I've got another little project here that I can show.
Is that enough light?
That's nice.
oh, there we go.
But you need to get the camera plugged in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that cord there, I think you might need to put a USB.
Okay, let's see if we can.
Oh, and there's one
There's
right
one
down.
there. Yeah, I see it.
So Whitney, these ones here,
Yes.
I thought it might be kind of fun, just a little bit of a
I think that
resist with the wax and then
Absolutely.
do a dip. Are you planning on dipping in anything else? Because I could just be,
I
do a little bit of a pour over them.
You do what works and use this and use the dye, grab it out, especially if we're going to be using the dye to do more masks tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna put these next to it. This is on camera.
7:30. Okay, good. I'm just trying to keep things going. Good. Well, actually, it goes till
Until
8:30.
8:30.
Oh, good. Then
Good
we've got
enough
lots
hour,
of time.
yeah. I'm gonna see if I'm on. You can see that?
Not plugged into anything.
Okay.
The wax, I don't have to see. There we go.
Okay, that's why I thought it was like,
Nice. Okay. Oh, where's that?
I'm usually out
There we
here
go. Awesome.
during the daylight hours. There you go, piece of cake.
So while they're doing that, I thought maybe I could show you a little bit about what I've gotten onto with some of the encaustics. I think the camera might have flipped around upside down or something. Let's see here. Oh, we got the ceiling.
Sorry guys.
Monkey cam.
It's a drunk camera.
Yep. I bet the people are.
Is it 'cause
Rotate
the-
your
it's the way the
phone.
cord is messing it up? Don't make them seasick.
Yeah.
Got it? Am I on? Okay. I'd like to thank Rusi for coming out and doing our film work tonight. Ray's been art spotter for a while, and art student and illustrator, and man about town in Edmonds. And we couldn't do this without you, Ray. Thank you.
No problem.
He's extremely patient with all of us too, which is a bonus. Anyway, I have been messing around with encaustics for a while too, and I thought I'd bring this set of modular paintings over. About 10 years ago, I got into doing what I call modular paintings, and they're paintings that can stand alone, and they're also paintings that if you put them together, they'll create a larger image. And I've been working on this with oil on canvas. And I think I've gotten them to the point where I'm just kind of getting bored with them. So I thought, well, since I'm going to be over here with Whitney and she's going to have all this wax melted, I'm going to go ahead and put some just clear wax on a few places, and then I'm going to do an indigo pour over top. Actually, I could do a dip because it'll fit. But anyway, I want to see what the indigo will do if it can just soak into some of the areas of this canvas. Normally, encaustic needs a rigid surface to hang on to, but I could end up just melting the encaustic right off and just using it as a resist. So I'm just going to be a moochy friend and maybe just put a little wax on here while you're...
Please do. And you know what? And again, try it.
Yep.
Try it.
Okay.
And I put a little more on here. I've been using
These
the
are my
opaque
favorite
one.
questions.
Oh, Oh my gosh, you see, I'm filthy with those brushes. I have so many. Encaustics makes these slotted brushes, and again, you get them through Tracy. They are amazing to work with. They will spoil you. You have to be careful.
You have to have non-synthetic.
Absolutely, you know, natural. They're usually kind of a natural hair bristle, and it will melt if you're trying to do it with, you know, a synthetic brush. It will melt, and fibers. If you don't have a quality brush, fibers are going to come off, sticking into your wax. It's a nightmare.
You know, I think instead of dipping these, because the back would just get completely soaked and everything,
Oh, yeah.
I think I'll just pour it over. That should be enough.
I think that sounds good. Just do what feels right and what feels good. And so you can see some of the color coming up. Now, if I do pick it up, sometimes I do this intentionally. Do you see how that just made all this kind of yummy texture? I'm a texture girl. I love texture.
I've never seen anybody make texture by lifting up a soft pour, and it just kind of, it's kind of a sloughing of the.
Yeah, and then,
weight of it.
I don't know if I have any on here, but I'll do that sometimes, and then I sometimes take tar and I rub it lightly over it, and it'll really pick up and accentuate,
Yeah.
you know, the,
We learned some of these great tricks at Trish Segebrecht's in Costa Camp.
she's awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome. So what's gonna happen, I will, you know, if I go over that, some of that, sometimes the heat will melt it away, but sometimes it'll pick up and accentuate it more. But that's gonna leave a little marred surface on there, which I actually am enjoying,
Yeah.
so.
And I like, you're not stingy with your
Oh, no.
application there, darling. You,
No, I use a lot, and it's funny because, I will come back and I will pull off these bits. There is a time to be frugal with the wax, because I respect that my bees work very, very hard to create this for me. I also think there's a time to be very free with the art products. I know a lot of people are very careful. Good art supplies are expensive. However, I just don't think that's the right state of mind for me to be in. I need to be all about the art, and if it means slathering more on, and I love texture, and I love richness and depth, so I go for it. But then at the end of the day, I'll clean up and I'll salvage what I can and try and be really respectful to those little bees. And another thing, if I can encourage everybody, let your dandelions bloom when they come in until all the spring flowers bloom. Dandelions are great first food for bees. So I let them grow in my yard until all my flowers come in, and then I'm like, okay, now they gotta go away. So, trying to be bee friendly. So I'm going to hand this to you and let you take over.
What's your plan on this one? Are you gonna do indigo on this as well, over top of it?
Resin over the top. I'm going to leave the indigo there.
This is gorgeous.
You know, see, look at how rich and lustrous, and it's just creamy.
And what do you do with the drips on the side?
Occasionally I'll leave them run down. Here, sometimes I tape them off. I just like to be intentional of what I do. This is messy enough that I will not be satisfied just allowing the drips, because some of the dye came up further, there's not a clean line. So I will either use paint or stain, or RNF also makes these yummy pigment sticks, these oil pigment sticks. I might take that and rub it along. Finish your edges, just, there's a lot of different ways to work with it.
This looks beautiful.
Yeah, that will definitely stay. I love that. But don't be sloppy is my thought. Just do what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out of your way on that, and I can show you, like here, I can show you the edge on this one. I left a little, I like to show a little bit of my work. It's a little Rodin-esque going, you know, hey, here's a little
And the
fit
drips,
behind the.
do you leave these or do you,
I leave them
Yeah.
because of you. I used to sand them off when I very first started, and you said, "Oh my gosh, no, leave the drips. They're so cool. It's a peek behind the curtain. People see what your process." And so, ever since then, I've left them. But I like what's going on the edge, and then the top edge is really clean, and the bottom's the blue.
Mhm.
So it's again specific, intentional. I
That's
love
a
the.
beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of my newest pieces.
What's it called?
Oh, I hate you for asking that.
You know what? I was
I
carrying
didn't write a name on it yet.
carrying this brush around, so I have to get it to soften up. What's in these smaller? Are these all just
That's-
clear medium?
That's clear medium, and I have a bunch of stuff, and I had them ready to go in case I wanted to add, I go, oh, I want this
More.
color, I want that color, I've got some stuff ready to go right there.
Mm-hmm.
You can also take, what I do with my pans is I take, and when they're cold, I slam them upside down and what's left will pop out. And so this is a mixture of the pigment and the clear medium,
Mm-hmm.
but you can heat it and then just, that put like a drop. But I can heat it on here and use a brush to paint with it. So if I want just a little bit, I can heat it up and use a lot. That's darn near pure pigments, these. What they do is they have just enough to bind them together. So you can mix and make your own colors.
I might not leave tonight. I might just.
You know what? I got extra jammies.
So, are we explaining this or not yet?
What's next, Whitney?
Well, are you gonna explain yours, and then at the end, I'm definitely doing resin.
Okay.
And I can, since I have more time, I can show something kind of fun and cool that I mentioned doing, and Tim, my husband, said, "You're gonna cram too much in," and I'm like, well, that would totally be me.
It's hard to know when there's too much art. I don't know. Is anybody out there thinking
How
there's-
much art is too much?
Too much art. Oh, can't handle it.
What color do you like? Ooh, that one's kind of cool.
You know what I might do? How about if I hand you these and you could pour some indigo over them?
Oh, absolutely.
I got the top, these three done here.
Okay, tell me what you're envisioning.
I don't know. It's like,
Do you want indigo over all of it, or do you just want a little bit, or what are you thinking?
well, I'm thinking that you could start and then you can always add more, but you can't take it away, right?
Correct.
So these three have some wax. So let's just see what those do, and I'll just keep.
But
coating
again,
those.
I'm gonna ask for you to direct me. I'm very specific on this. This is your vision. I will be your worker monkey, but
Mhm.
I want to bring your vision to life, not
Yeah.
just take over your project from you, because I love you. You're a clever woman. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that where I'm putting the wax, I'm trying to keep this circular movement. So
What about a little
maybe
bit like right
trying
there?
to keep a little bit of the white showing through.
Yeah. What do you think of finger painted some of the?
Yeah. It just
Grooviness
needs.
there.
It just needs. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Surprise
normally
me.
when I'm teaching, I really am making the students do all of it, but Tracy and I go, like you said, way back, and we've traveled, gosh, it was a little over a year ago, we were in Paris together, and
That sounds so poshy.
it was super cool. And we went to Africa together, so I will do stuff for her.
We survived.
Yeah, that was,
Barely.
woo, that was, yeah.
So it is Whitney's birthday, right?
Woo, are you
Today.
guys gonna sing?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Whitney.
Thank you.
Everyone's singing
Happy birthday to you.
Nice. Thank you. You want more than this, or you liking this? What are you thinking?
That looks like it's too tentative. You need to.
Oh, okay, because I just was echoing movement.
Yeah.
All right, she says, no, go crazy.
What if you pour the spoon over it?
I can do that. Tell me what you want.
What would you do if I went, ah, no, I hate it. It's it's ruined.
I would take it out in the yard and frisbee it across the yard, because I have done that with some of my paintings.
Because I know that the indigo is not going to obliterate it. It's just going to give it another
See, now
layer.
when you pour it, it's gonna run off and
Yeah.
you know, more of that. So.
And this wax, you know, it doesn't have time to dry. It just cools down and you're ready to go.
Joanne says 35 years old.
What did you say?
Joanne says 35 years old.
35 what?
Years old?
How old are you?
Oh, Lordy, Joanne, I love you and get glasses.
Victoria says happy birthday.
Actually, I am 59 years old. Woo! And that's when you say, yeah, baby, this is 59. Boom.
59 is the new 39.
I am every bit as dirty as I ever was. She said not today, but I'm thinking I want to. I thought I wanted to.
Did I put wax on all
See, I think, see, this is just kind of, see, that looks kind of bland to me.
Interesting how it looks kind of green when it comes out.
Yeah, and it will blue up more as it oxidizes, but again, that's why you never, ever, ever do this unless you're in one of my classes.
Have you ever used any of the Procyon dyes
See
or
what?
the
Oh, yeah. Yes. There's, I have a long history of dyes.
Ooh, now see the difference in the depth. I mean, this isn't.
But this is gorgeous too, so
Okay,
I'm just gonna say.
so
Yeah.
just
Try it. Dude,
Splash 'em
get in there. Get in there, girl. Get messy, get dirty, have fun. And while you're doing that, I'll unearth some more.
you're getting ready for your next bonus project.
What's my next bonus project?
You said you had another idea that Tim said not to do because you
Oh, yeah,
overwhelm
okay.
everybody.
Oh, I'm ready.
Ask them, our
Oh,
audience,
yeah.
if they're feeling overwhelmed.
Ray, are you feeling overwhelmed?
Just enough of overwhelmed to This is really exciting.
Ray, do you like the smell of the beeswax?
I can't smell it. I have my mask on.
See, I love that. Always, and again, if you're working with Encaustics, our room is ventilated, by the way. We have windows open and things like that. You want to work in a well-ventilated space. If you're working with Encaustics, it's just a good idea. Always take care of your lungs.
Can you tell the beeswax, does the beeswax ever smell a little different from batch to batch or no? Not really.
It
smells
mostly
the same.
just kind of has that candle
Yeah.
smell.
Seems nice.
I
It always
love it.
smells like burnt candle in here all the time, I'm sure.
I do like it. What I thought I would show you was a little bit, Pan Pastel is another thing I love. They, number one, tiny little company, and they are beautiful. And they have always been so good and just wonderful to me. So,
Thank you, Pan Pastel.
yeah, we love you. We do. Oh, this one's brand new. Okay, well, I'll start with this one. And because I'm not changing my glove, and this is again why I wear rags when I work.
You are your own
Problem child?
clean rag. You just wear
Yeah, exactly. But, so some indigo blue will probably come off in this. If I was like really doing this right, I would definitely change my gloves. But I'm gonna smear, now what Pan Pastel does is they take a little bit of, they take almost pure pigment. And then they add just enough to pull it together. And so you can use brushes, you can use all sorts of things and use this as you would pastel. I am, again, a very tactile girl. I love to touch things with my hands. I come from a sculpting background, and if you ever find a piece of art that doesn't have my fingerprint somewhere on it, it couldn't be me. But you can just kind of...
Hold on, Whitney. We're having some technical difficulties here.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Still getting used to things. Alrighty. Let's scrap this. We're going mobile.
All right.
Alrighty. And I think it's too heavy for the...
like the cord's pulling it down.
Yeah. Here, let me just...
Should we buy you another, like an extra battery that you can pop in, or is that not how it works?
No, we're good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm liking these better.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying that. They do look really cool. It adds more depth.
Alrighty.
We back?
We are good.
All right. So again, this luscious pan pastel, I just kind of rub it in, and like I'm going to do this just to show you what report. So hopefully you're really close on this. If I wanted to, like over here, I'll just adhere it. See, you're going to see some bubbling. You're going to see a little bit of movement, a little bit of shattering. And I'll leave that kind of subtle on that side. But then I'm going to go over here, do a little more there. But here, I'm going to push it so you can see what it does. As it starts to push apart, and it kind of goes and spreads out. And you can get it to where it almost disappears. And you just got to decide what you want, how you want it. And right now, mostly what I'm doing is I'm wanting to show you what, how it behaves. I'm really more interested
Someone's
at
saying
this
they're-
moment in demonstrating than the final project.
Someone's saying the video's breaking, I guess. The internet
video's breaking?
the internet connection.
Oh,
Please let us know if there's any lag or any sort of internet connection problems in the chat. That'd be great.
that gives you a little bit. And I'll open this orange, and so we get another color going in there. So you can kind of see some.
You shared some of your balloon with me. I'm going to share the love with you. Because that's valuable stuff.
Well, that's absolutely. It's the best stuff ever.
But you don't want to.
Yeah, you got to be kind of careful with the bloom. You have a certain amount of it, and it will exhaust. And normally, live fast, die young, and leave a great looking bloom, right? But normally I do a really long, hard day when I'm dying, and I just do the one day with the dye and just figure it's gone, it's done. So we have quite the festive day. And this is a really nice pearlescent color. Those are all pan pastels over there, by the way. They have so many different colors, and again, you can get them all with Tracy at ARTspot. And
If you want to have pan pastel envy, they come in towers. This is how most people buy them one at a time.
are you saying I'm not most people?
There's metallics.
Oh my gosh, you got the metallics are sumptuous.
That's when you go to the dark side on this
Yeah,
one.
and they have super dark ones.
It's the biggest set I've ever seen.
I know.
Wow.
It's like a tower. And then why do you keep these in a separate thing?
Probably they're like that because I took them somewhere. I teach at high schools. They bring me in to teach different classes, or I taught for Trish at the international encaustic places, camps and.
This is another cool thing that she does. Wrapping plaster around a balloon, indigo,
Yep. Yeah.
and then wax.
Yes. And if you're going to try something like this, the key for most people is you paint it on. For me, I will actually put these through the indigo, but you have to be so fearless and so fast and completely willing to have it fall apart in your hand. So, because it's extremely difficult to do it fast enough. So I would never.
It's
It's
like
a
COVID.
hat. I like it. It's
It's my COVID.
Or Blue Meanie.
That's right. So for what it's worth, but when I teach classes for that, I do have people paint it on, and that has worked out really well. And there's some fun little ornaments I've done and different things with the indigo, and that woman is an indigo as well.
So the thing that wax likes is an absorbent, rigid surface. Would you say that's true of indigo? But of course it can do fabric. It likes natural fabrics, not synthetic fabrics.
It will, it definitely takes to this, but you are limited with the amount of time you can expose it to it, because it's like I said, it is gonna be lightning fast for
It's
that.
kind of like, what is it called? Two brothers from separate mothers or something? Indigo and wax.
They can play well together. You just gotta set the stage, and you gotta be willing to adapt to them.
Hey Whitney, is that important to have on, or is there a way we could turn that
yeah,
off?
you can
or-
turn that off.
Okay,
That's just trying to keep you to not freeze while
Sure.
we're out here with the windows open.
Do you want to switch over to resin, or do you have more?
What time is it?
You have another half hour or so.
Oh, we're good, because the resin will be quick, and then I'm gonna kick you out because I don't want you breathing the fumes too much. So what I'll do is I'll show you, I thought the orange might show up a little bit.
I can't walk over there because the connection's gonna cut out. So
I'll come
Yeah,
over here.
there we go.
I'll try and keep it as level as possible. And if people have questions, feel free to reach out, let me know. I'll try and answer them. And then kind of move that a little bit around, soften it, because I want more of a suggestion than a blatant. Yeah.
and at some point we'll explain about again about the masks, how people can come
Yes.
come around for those.
Yeah, so these masks were supplied by the city of Edmonds. They were made by Haynes Company, who did a pivot and started making whitey-tidy masks instead of briefs. And so we thought, well, we could hand out white masks at ARTspot, but it seems so much more,
Yeah.
artistic.
And I do plain
We
masks.
like to have a high bar.
Can you tell?
Ooh, look at this one. That's beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we'll, I'm gonna hopefully be able to pick up more masks at the city of Edmonds tomorrow. They're distributing them from the Snohomish County for PPE for businesses. And they just wanna make it so that businesses can hand out masks to shoppers that might wanna come in the store and they don't have their mask with them, so. But we wanna make sure that if anybody's watching the video tonight, if you want one, just comment in the video here, or in the Facebook comments.
Yeah.
And just let us know when you'd like to come pick one up at ARTspot.
Yeah.
And Ann Ryan said yes. She would love to grab one.
Hi, Ann.
Yeah, that's definitely at ARTspot to get those. That's the place.
Ooh, so I like the ones that have more white, but that green will actually oxidize. Is
It
that what you're
will.
saying?
It will. It will be a lighter. See how you have a lighter
This
blue
has
there?
already gotten.
Yeah. I wish we could save the green sometimes because I do like it, and I'm looking at other dyes to incorporate some green. Seahawks love, baby.
That's like a Seahawks.
I know. So, but I haven't found a green that I'm satisfied with that looks Seahawky enough for me. But it's happening. Like those onesies that Tracy has a bunch of my Indigo onesies at ARTspot right now.
They're like this big.
I
Little people.
They're
Little
so
people.
cute. And people can do special orders for bigger sizes and things like
You
that.
know,
But
you shouldn't have had them at ARTspot. You should take them down to that itty bitty. The little,
that would be cute. I
Yeah.
thought about that. I just have
Just a
I
few
gotten
doors down.
there and done it? No. But the idea with some of those is there needs to be some Seahawks green on those because the blue is so great. And believe it or not, when you have
Yeah,
a
they
little
have-
bit bigger, you can get some spectacular designs go.
I start getting into this, being able to do studio classes again, because you're a really great teacher and you do
Thank
fun
you.
stuff.
And I love it. I love the energy of students, and it's like have a good time. And Gladys, I don't know if you're watching. I know you said you were going to. She was super fun in one of my classes. Oh my gosh, we
Oh, here's
had,
one with the stone in it. Let's look at that.
yeah, we had some crazy fun women.
Maybe I can just manhandle.
And the whole stream obviously will be posted after we're done here. So if you miss anything, you can go back.
This will be
Oh,
the
nice.
scream.
Yes, you like the scream? I
I was
like
gonna
that.
say-
Do you see
It's
what?
like the poor guy's hanging
Oh, yeah.
himself. It's like he's a
Did you see?
poster child for how
Did you see what it says on the post-it I put there?
the little. This is the mask for the screen.
Tracy,
Yeah.
look at the post-it.
Oh, the 2020 official spokesperson.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
needs to be a shirt.
Absolutely.
Is the pearls in for Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Yeah, actually, I purchased some of the fancy lace neck things.
Oh yeah.
Thinking I need to incorporate them in art. I have not figured out what to do with them, so.
So Anne, is this the one you want? The.
It's like a portal.
It's like a bullseye.
And I'm
That was
gonna
just
show
a-
you a little something over here. I'm gonna show just a little quick, because I might be popping resin onto these guys, so I will try and get a little bit of something done. Actually, I think I just used this. I thought some small things might be just simple to do. Whoops, and I totally did that way too fast, so it's way over the edge and looks terrible, but I can chase it back. There you go. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Ray, you should pick out a mask too.
Sweet.
It's not. It's kind of like almost like the mask you have on.
Yeah, I love tie-dye. If you couldn't tell.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a big Grateful Dead fan. Actually, I wanted to do some black tie-dye, some like reverse tie-dye with
Oh, yeah.
like what would you use, bleach, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh, so you take a black T-shirt?
Yeah, you ring it up like you tie it up and then you
Uh-huh.
just use like bleach.
Ooh.
So then it like the black has like pigments in it already. So it doesn't come out just black and white. It comes out like black and tan and white and yeah.
Don't come in looking for these tomorrow. We still need to do another batch, and we need to wash them, and then we'll have lots. So I can put a post on this.
This is so satisfying, you opening these.
Yeah, I know, it's fun.
It's like Christmas morning. It's really fun.
This one only had one very loose rubber band, so I bet it's going to be really dark.
Yeah. That's why tight rubber bands are a much better way to go.
So this is the design that was folded accordion style. So more dye was on the outside, and anyway, this is when you have little rocks. You put a little rock and put a rubber band, and yeah, so you get to be, it's not rocket science. You just mess around.
Basically, have fun.
Should I do the ones in here too, Whitney?
No, those need to be rinsed out.
While they're still lumpy.
Yes, because
That's
they've
a
been
technical
soaking in
term.
the vinegar, so we need to go in and rinse them in the sink.
I feel like I'm getting
Vinegar.
my vinegar.
It says it
spa
smells like a
experience.
salad, doesn't it?
Not the salads I make. Indigo vinegar salad.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, tasty.
Yeah.
So, I thought what I might do. Let's do a little of that. We're gonna just kind of get a little crazy with this.
What you doing over there?
I am preparing a couple of things that I'm gonna dip, and then I will probably resin these little tiny things, because I'm only gonna resin something small to give you an idea of what it's like. So that,
You know, I'm not afraid of the resin smell. I was one of those little kids that liked going to the gas station when my dad was going to fill up the car because I like the smell. It's some kind of a thing that, like, some people like cilantro and some don't. It's
Yeah.
like there's something about liking toxic smells or something.
oh, well, that's always good for you.
I'm not advocating it, but
Yeah. Well, for me especially, I spend so much time doing resin. I really have to take care of my lungs because I'm around it a lot.
show me a respirator and what you do with this.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on in a minute. And this is art resin. I buy 4 gallons at a time. Tracy has nice small little ones, even little ones to try, if you just wanna try it.
I have the big ones too. This is a couple, a U.S. made product, a husband and wife, and
Yeah, and
nice little family business.
it's really nice to work with. The larger amount of resin you mix. You have a resin and a hardener. This one is the resin, and this is the hardener over here. And you mix them 50-50 together, and you stir for 3 minutes. And then you use them. And it'll be quick and easy to work with a small amount like this. But when I'm working with big amounts, the larger the amount you mix, the shorter your workable time is. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You'd think it would just be the opposite.
it would be nice if it was the opposite. So it can be a stressful time, and honestly, I think every picture of me with my respirator on, I'm looking like, yeah, why am I doing this? And I gotta say, probably the first 10 times I worked with resin, I would walk in at the end of the day and go, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not working with resin again. It's been fun, but I'm done. And then I come out and I see what it does, and I'm like, fine. And so I don't even say that anymore. It's been years. I just go, yeah, you know what? Resin owns me. It just says, yeah, you're gonna be.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm back. Sorry, the internet's in and out. We're out in my studio, which is.
It's a pandemic. Oh my God.
And so what I did is I did put a little wax on here, and I thought I would dip it down and, you know, get a little bit. Oh, there's some, but then dip it in
You're
the
getting-
yummy part. I don't probably need quite that much. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
You know, and it'll come off the top part for the most part. Ooh, actually, that's kind of cool. What it's got going on there. Here, I'll come back for you. And so I'll leave that to dry. But I'm kind of liking that. And this one I'll try and be a little. Well, that's just kind of wild how it's just floating out there like a little whale.
It has it's like an orca feeling.
Yeah, it's cresting.
Yeah. We have 2 baby orcas out in the sun right now.
Nice!
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun to go see. Are you gonna want to lay these out flat so they dry nicely?
Later. I want you to have your room to do your resin.
I don't need a lot of room for the resin. I tell you, I'd say move it, but you don't need to. Okay. So that one already has some resin on it. I will probably just put a little bit of resin on this. I think if I'm making a small amount, it won't.
You'll be fine, Whitney.
Yeah, I was thinking it won't be enough for that. Yeah, if you're just around it once, I'm not going to worry about it, but I will switch out, and you get to see, oh, hey, there's somebody.
That's what the bottom half of your face looks like.
That's right. This is me. Wait, it's really me. And now I'm going to get real pretty for you.
Being an artist is glamorous.
Oh, yeah.
Ow. Oh.
Okay, you know what? I can't do that with this on yet. And this is how it goes. You think doing this for years and years, I'd have it down to a science, and it's like, yeah, no, this is what it's like.
So
to be
art
here.
resin does advertise it having low VOCs, so it is the lesser of.
Oh
the,
yeah, it's much better.
Because for
than some of
years
this.
artists only had access to industrial type resins, and those were nasty.
Those were super nasty.
Like made
and
for
I
those-
worked with them.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm so careful with this.
Yeah.
Probably if I had started with this, I wouldn't be as careful. But, and I had this fantastic full face mask ready so I could protect my eyes, and it was really cool, really expensive, but I was like, hey, for all the resin I do, I'm going to be
Thank
ready
you.
for this. And it was
That's
in
good.
my cart at Amazon, and I
That's
just
good enough.
never clicked it. So
Thank you.
then came the pandemic, and it was like, oh, that's not an option to get that anytime soon. It's like, okay, well, never mind.
Do you mind if I grab my water? Could you hold the camera?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd stay like around here because it's the best connection.
Okay.
Yeah, and make sure you're holding.
It's just
this.
one tiny bit stuff.
Sign language now.
Mhm.
Don't trip over the cord.
I hope you can still hear me. Can you?
Mhm.
Uh-oh. It's a fashion statement choice. Fashion, baby.
We're getting used to muffled talking because of masks. We're all,
Yeah.
we're going with it.
We're just rolling.
It's a very fashionable pink color.
Yes, my other one's plain, and I went, no.
Yeah.
I had to kick it up
When
a
you
lot.
mix it, come a little closer because I can't come closer to you. If I step
okay.
closer to you, we lose our connection.
Fair enough. I will,
It's a tentative little
I'm just
sweet spot right
thinking,
here. Hi, Leah Morgan.
I'm wondering if I should.
What do you think? What's going through your mind?
I was wondering if I should put a little bit on here just because I will have more. I was thinking I would do several of these, but some of them were already done, and those are wet, so I went, okay.
Do your that piece there.
I won't
It's-
have enough probably to do.
Well, just do the blue part as resin and not the top part, like you did on your big painting down there with like the drippiness,
Okay.
and then you don't have to worry about leveling as much.
And I have. This will be the fastest, easiest
Yeah.
setup.
So if you folks are just joining us, you are watching a live feed from the studio of Whitney Buckingham-Beechie, and we are in Edmonds, Washington. This is sponsored by ARTspot. We're calling these our Art Watch series because Art Walk is off the calendar until further notice, but that doesn't keep a good art store down. We can still watch this artist bustling around her studio. And yeah, I think it's cool taking advantage of this time to do studio visits and get to see what happens behind the scenes.
And since I have this lovely little rock sitting, no, it's not going to be lovely though.
Mhm.
Another fine product, Prisma.
Mm-hmm.
I will also use that to bring that up.
Heavy-O fantasy paints.
Love that.
Yeah.
They're so fantastic. That is for another time though. And
Back.
Maybe
I'm back,
someone's.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Don't breathe, Ray.
Okay. Now normally when I'm doing this, I use huge measuring cups and do giant amounts. Tonight I thought we would just go for quick and easy, small.
So it's a 1-to-1 ratio,
Yep.
which is easy. You don't have to do any math at all.
Probably going to be hard to hear, Whitney, so you might want to
Yeah.
or
I'm
narrate. here.
narrating because you're kind of muffly. Now I can't think of anything to say. So she's putting in an equal amount of the resin and an equal part of the hardener, and then you're going to want to usually stir it for about 3 minutes so that they will activate, and stirring slowly so you don't make a lot of air bubbles unless you like the look of air bubbles. That could be a thing, you know, but
No.
she has a large shaggy white dog that's not allowed in here, and even sometimes there'll be a little white hair in, and you don't want to talk to Whitney on a day that happens because she's
That's a lot of work.
yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do this.
This is highly technical. 2 plastic cups and a wood stirring stick.
Yeah. And again, this is not what I use. I use these huge wooden. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I use huge wooden boards to stir with, but tonight I'm actually going to use the little dinky thing because I'm doing a dinky amount. I have never in my life, never have I ever made a tiny batch of this.
You even said dinky.
Yeah.
And I noticed that
Minuscule.
you have your board elevated so that it doesn't glue itself to the surface.
Yeah. And I always go off the edge, and I let the drips run, and you see they hang out on the back because they thicken up. And you want to, they say try not to get a lot of air in here. My thought is just do a good job on getting it mixed in. You're going to get air. There are going to be air bubbles. The point is to deal with those. And my favorite way to deal with them is with a torch, but I'm going to use a heat gun tonight
Because again, I'm a little cautious about doing demonstrations with torches because I am happy to teach with torches in person. That way I can monitor people and know that they're safe. To just turn people loose at home, hey, grab a torch, go. It's like, I want to be more careful than that. But they are so fun to use, I'm not going to lie.
Do you normally do the torch work only in the summer?
I normally do the resin work only in the summer.
Because you could be outside.
Because I can be outside, but no, I do. I have to get out of my studio for 3 days after I do it. I leave it set up for 3 days. And that's if everything goes well. If it doesn't, and I have to redo it, then I spend a day sanding and then redoing it, and I'm out for another 3 days. And like I said, there have been paintings where I've gone through that process 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the cost of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing like using it on a big thing 5 times in a row. Those are happy days. Happy days. Let's take the dog on a really long walk until I'm happy again.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, again, you gotta bleed for your art, right?
So there's a nice frame shop in town on Main Street in Edmonds called Michael Christopher's, and they do carry and represent Whitney's artwork there. So that's a great place.
One of the first places I did, so that's why he's still at it, and he's been great. He has sold a lot of my art, and that's been beautiful. And I am going to, actually, I'm gonna make this. That is not the trash.
How about if we move you over to the corner here so that we can just be a little closer?
I want to get nice and close so he can see. Whoop, sorry. Doing a little dance. Trying to use Michael. And then I get, actually, I'm going to pull this back a little bit because the heat gun, and this is where you want a lot of good light, because then you can kind of really see what's happening, because you want to see what's going on with the resin. So if it's bubbling, you want to get them out. Some will naturally work themselves out, but you really do want to get them out.
So what did you decide? Are you going to coat the whole top or just the blue part? The indigo part?
Right now, I'm just going to do the indigo. It doesn't mean I won't come back out here at some point and do another coat. Honestly, I'm not paying enough attention right now, and I haven't finished the top in a way. Like, when I do demonstrations, I demonstrate techniques. I'm not necessarily creating finished pieces because, like I said, I'm pretty quiet when I'm focused on it and I'm thinking about how I want it to look at the end. Right now I'm not. I've been teaching, so I'll have to come out on a different day and look at it and say, oh, okay, I like what this is doing. I don't like this. I'm going to change this. This is just, quite honestly, slapping some resin on it.
Well, thank you so much for demoing
My pleasure.
indigo and Encaustics and art resin in a action-packed art watch night.
Thank you, and thanks for coming out. We jammed a lot into this night. I don't normally throw stuff at people quite this fast, but hopefully you had fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. Relax, have fun, try stuff. Not everything has to be perfect. I mean, how many paintings did Picasso do? Like, an insane amount, and the percentage of how many are considered masterpieces at this point, you know, just make the art, do the art. Worst case scenario, you grow as a person and you have fun. And Lily, thank you. That's my dog. Now hopefully you can see all those bubbles popping? It doesn't take much, but it will make all the difference in the world. And then this is where I really stir it down and everything's covered. It's not hard on this, but when I'm doing the big ones and I check and I check and I check from every angle and I'm so careful. And often there'll be something that I've missed or,
I assume it's Bryn on the ARTspot account, but does the resin stick on the table when it cures?
yes.
Oh yeah,
And the floor.
I'm sure.
And I've chipped it off with chisels, yeah. Resin is evil.
Resin is evil.
Resin is a difficult
Besides our resin.
itch. We'll say itch. That's not quite the word I'm going for. It's a love-hate thing. And you can do other things. They make a lot of cool resin molds. So if you want to make paperweights or this, that, or the next thing, you can color. You can do different things with the resin and do stuff. This is what I like to do with my resin.
Thank you. I wanted to give you just a minute or two to wrap up and any plugs that you might want to do for your work, if you're showing work anywhere, or...
Well, actually, here, and since I'm not going to be out here for very long, I'm just going to go ahead and take this off and talk. And I'll stand way over here. So, part of the beautiful thing is they get to come and use it. So,
It'll come back.
it will come back. And I thought, okay, so this is the time to experiment, to grow, to learn, to recharge, to whatever. Just don't fight it. So, I'm not in shows right now, and that is, I have art. It's for sale if people reach out to me. And what I'm doing is I have been donating some to charity, you know, portions of it and stuff. Trying to help, just trying to help. And
And your website.
my website, whitneybuckingham-beechie.com, and I think if you go to whitneybb.art, I think it directs you to it as well. So yeah, I feel free to reach out with questions and stuff. You can't really take the teacher out of the artist. It's just, it's in there, and I love what I do, and I do what I love, and I feel very blessed and fortunate to get to be able to do what matters to me. So, and I really appreciate you tuning in and checking it out. And hopefully this has been informative and fun. So, even if we've had to have masks on.
Thank you, Whitney. Good night.
And thank you everyone in the chat who tuned in, and we will be posting this on our Facebook for everyone to view.
Love you guys. Stay strong.